Can you hear me?
Yeah, it should be recording now. It's recording.
All right. First, we're going to have you state your full name
Richard C. Bevier.
and what year were you born and where.
What year? 1929, Springfield, Missouri.
Please state your ethnicity. It's part of the question.
Repeat.
Your ethnicity and or race.
Caucasian, I guess.
And a description and location of your service in the war.
Let's just say Korea.
Your highest ranking that you received.
Sergeant of Marines.
Which branch of the service were you in?
Marine Corps.
And what battles did you serve in?
Invasion of Incheon, capture of Seoul. Enemy forces in South Central Korea. Demolition jobs up in 41st Parallel Korea. That's about it.
Any achievements or honors received while you were enlisted?
Not really.
And I am Dale Bernice Garrett, and our camera person is Timber King, and our interview is taking place in the Upper School College Guidance Interview Office. And our first question you already answered, but who are or were your parents, and what were their occupations?
Father was a railroad clerk, mother, housewife. Only had one mother, one father.
Did you have any siblings, and
A brother, yes. Mm-hmm.
Did they serve or no?
He became a colonel in the Army.
What were you doing before you were enlisted in the service?
I was a railroad clerk.
What was it like when you left your family to go to the war?
They were happy to see me go.
What was your highest level of education before you enlisted?
2 years of college.
Can you slow down?
Can't write that fast.
What was life like for you before you enlisted in the war?
Great.
Could you elaborate on that?
Well, very typical. You know, growing up, relatively small city, it was very pleasant. We knew everyone, they knew us, which is a good thing. They kept pretty good control over your activities.
May I ask what motivated you to enlist into the war?
We had a thing called, I guess, patriotism. 17 years old, you don't have really good common sense. My brother had preceded me into the Marine Corps. He was in China at the time. When the war was over, when the Second World War was over, I was still in boot camp, and they knew I was coming.
What happened when you departed for training camp and during your early days of training?
It was pretty exciting, very intense, I guess I would say. They did not waste any time. You only had 13 weeks to become from a civilian to a jarhead.
Do you recall any of your instructors, and if so, what were they like?
Obviously, yes. My DI was a huge Indian fella who did not play games, put it this way. We learned a lot from him. He was very, very encouraging, I guess you'd say.
How did you adapt to military life, including the physical regimen, barracks, food, and social life?
Quite an adjustment, I would say.
Did you choose to be a Marine, or were you chosen to be one?
I chose.
Why did you choose Marine?
Lack of common sense.
What Marine division were you in?
Technically, not the 1st Marine Division. The 1st Marine Division was the organic operation in Korea. I was Fleet Marine Force, which is a little different outfit.
Where did you serve in Korea?
Here we go again. Incheon. Went through Incheon twice, going up, coming back. Places that won't make any sense to you because they're Korean names. Sorae-dong, Dongjin. Let's see. Seoul, of course. We captured Seoul. Across the Han River. On and on and on. Kimpo Airfield. That's enough.
What are some memories you have of your experience?
How much time do we have? You try to blot out as many as you can of the unpleasantries. You try to remember the good times, and there were some good times, believe it or not.
If you were on the front lines, what combat action did you witness?
We were the front lines. What combat action did we see? Well, with this hand, I put 10,000 rounds of howitzer ammunition across the enemy. So obviously that did some damage.
What kinds of friendships and camaraderie did you see did you have from serving, and with whom?
Very strong. You get like a close family. On our tractors, on our tanks, we had a 6-man crew, and you knew all about them. Everything about their history, their likes, dislikes. It's like a very close-knit family. There are only 3 of us left. We're still close.
And that kind of segue into our next question. Did you stay in touch with any of your
Oh yeah,
friends?
best I could before they all dropped over. We had many reunions when we could.
How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home?
Not too well. Of course, we didn't have anything other than snail mail, and didn't have anything to write on or with. It was just rather spotty, I guess you'd say. I got a box of cookies every once in a while.
What do you do for recreation or when you were off duty?
Wash clothes. Clean weapons. Recreation. Oh, we did have a volleyball net. Yeah, we took our camouflage net and made it into a volleyball net. We played volleyball. We found a flat place, you know. We took on some fellas from the Turkish outfit. Bitty fellas. They beat us soundly.
What was your job during the war?
Armored Amphibian Section Leader. Big word, but
Yeah. What was your unit like your soldiers that did you work with? What were they like, and how did you all bond?
well, my job was to keep 18 heavily armed, crazy teenagers from hurting each other. Sums it up.
We kind of heard that you blew up a railroad. Is that true? And if so, what was it like?
Well, we picked up a group of Royal Marine Commandos. They were the demolition experts. We transported them up to the 41st parallel to a place called Sorae-dong. Now, if that doesn't tell you anything, you can imagine. We landed, and the Chinese were using a railroad to bring down munitions and personnel to fight the people down in the south. So we said, hey, let's blow up the railroads. We'll stop that. So we did. We made some landings there and blew up railroads. It was kind of exciting and noisy.
What was your impression of Korea and its people when you first
Oh,
arrived?
the place smelled terrible. They use human, well, they put some strange stuff on their fields. Other than that, it was quite an adjustment. We felt so sorry for the Korean people. You know, they were refugees. You know, they were being routed from the north by the communists coming south. It's like, well, say you're in your home someday, seated around a table. A guy runs through the door with a gun and says, "Everybody out." And if you don't move fast enough, he would shoot usually the senior member of the family. So people would flee, obviously, pick up what they could and come and escape. So that was our, I guess, your feeling of most sympathy for the local people.
Did you make any friends with Koreans?
Very hard to do. Their language obviously is so unique. We knew enough Japanese that we could explain to them what we wanted, you know, and they'd been under the Japanese occupation for many, many years, so they knew Japanese, so that's the only way we could communicate. But the answer, no. No, they were a little leery of us for good reason, you know.
Our next question is, did you serve alongside any African American soldiers, and did you see them experiencing any racism?
Oh, we had one. He didn't last long, poor guy. He's a victim of an accident. He stepped in front of a machine gun that somebody had put in full operation. We loved him. Great guy, great guy. He knew he had to fit in with all those white guys, you know. He was great. Kid from St. Louis, I'll never forget him. But that was it. That's our experience.
Did you encounter any harsh weather conditions or any harsh factors like food shortages or sicknesses?
Let's start out with the weather. Your second enemy after people trying to do you bodily harm is the weather. In South Korea, strangely enough, during the summer months, it's quite warm, over 100 degrees. As the seasons change and as you move farther and farther north, suddenly you're in a deep freeze. So you're below zero for extended periods. The wind's always from the north. Your second question was?
Did you encounter any harsh factors like food shortages or sickness?
Food shortage. No. Condition, yeah. But food shortage, I guess technically not.
How did everyone feel before and after the risky Operation Chromite?
We weren't part of that, for our knowledge. Chromite? That sounds like an army term.
Did you encounter any prisoners of war, and if so, do you know, or did you experience how they were treated?
Yes, I did, and they were not treated well by the South Koreans who we chose to guard them. In fact, they were almost brutal in the treatment of the Korean prisoners. But that's perhaps their custom.
Did you have any encounters with General MacArthur?
Thank goodness, no. Put that on there.
Where were you when the war ended?
The war ended. There was a ceasefire. The war has never ended in Korea. Where was I? I guess laying under the tractor, under the tank one day. The guy came up and says, "Bevier." I said, don't tell him. Looking for replacements. "Bevier, come on out of there. We got you a pass out of here." Oh, I'm leaving. That was it.
How did you return home?
Well, that was the scariest part of my experience over there. They put us on we jeeped down to Kimpo Airport. They put us on an it was Army Air Force airplane. A couple of teenagers up in the front of this DC-3. Off we went. We headed towards Dog Patch a little fighter strip down in South Korea. They had planes lined up right along the runway. Here comes these two teenagers trying to get that DC-3 to land on that runway, side-slipping in a crossing it. That was the most scary part of it I had.
How were you received by your family and community when you came home?
I think my mother was surprised. That was about it. No welcoming, no nothing.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
Tough. I had to finish college, and my fellow students didn't be charitable. They didn't understand me. I'd kind of zone out, I guess, on occasion. And, you know, the frivolities, I guess you'd say, of the youth that I was associated with just didn't quite compute, I guess you'd say.
Are you a member of any veterans organizations, and if so, which ones?
Okay, how much room do you have? Scottish American Military Society, Marine Corps League, 1st Marine Division Association. She's getting right with me. That's about enough.
What have you done since separating from the Marines?
Well, finished college, got in the oil business, went to graduate school, got an MBA in management, traveled all over the world, went to 28 different countries at last count. Yeah.
Was it hard to find a job or settle down after the war?
Not really.
What did you get on your test to become a Marine?
I don't believe ever. There was a score there. I vaguely remember a 144, whatever that means. 144. I never knew what it meant or anything about it.
Did you find it difficult to take it, the test, or?
Nah, it was a piece of cake.
What was your experience like in society after serving?
Hopefully normal.
Did you make any close friends, and what were your favorite memories of them?
Close friends. Probably not. No, not really. I found out you make too close friends, they disappear. So you kind of stay back from people a little bit. You don't want to know too much about them. Get too involved, I guess.
Did you get married afterwards, and did you have children?
Oh yeah. I made a mistake of writing one letter to a girl back home that I barely knew. She wrote back. When I came home, we got married. 2 daughters. Her daughters, not mine. Her daughters, girls, I don't understand.
If you don't mind us asking, how did your wartime affect your experiences in life?
You will change. I don't have any missing parts. But I've seen things I don't think you would have seen. That's okay. I blurted it out. These eyes have seen things hope you never have to see. Go ahead. I didn't used to cry. Put that down there.
What are some life lessons you've learned after your service?
I guess say be wary, be hesitant to make friendships, come close to people. It's not a wise idea. We're very temporary. People here today may not be here tomorrow. I'm wiping. Special feature.
How has your service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
guess you'd say, a deep felt hate for the policies, I guess, that we carry out. We always resort to the military in it seems like any event that comes up internationally, to looking for some way to work it out diplomatically. We think we need a larger, more vast military power. I don't agree with that anyway.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear your interview?
Plan well what you do. That's about it.
Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should be added to this interview?
Probably not, because I'd venture off into politics and things you don't want to really hear anyway.
I'm kind of curious about if you had any encounterments with General MacArthur. You say you were in the Battle of Inchon. I wrote my paper on the Battle of Inchon, so I'm kind of curious to hear about that.
Well, the general stayed on the ship that he was on, during the landing, and shortly after the landing, he was put into a barge and came into parts of Incheon Harbor, okay? And he was about to come up near where there was a seawall. Remember a seawall there? Okay. He was about to pull up to that and offload, and the guy said, "You better get out of here. We're going to blow that seawall."
Yeah.
So they took off and went back out to the ship. The only time I had any vision of General MacArthur and his entourage, General Almond, I'm not negative, believe me. He came up one time. We just pushed ahead up a road. Here he came in his jeeps, driven by Army guys with white gloves on, bright, shiny helmets. He bounced out, walked across this little bridge, walked up and said, "Oh, it looks pretty good." And he said hello to Chesty Puller. He said, "General, here's your Silver Star." Chesty said, "I don't want that." He said, "Okay." So he got back in the jeep, turned and drove away. Chesty said, "Okay, come out of that dead." There were some prisoners down underneath that bridge, wounded prisoners, But that's my only contact with the fabulous General MacArthur.
How did serving change your moral character?
Moral character. Well, it sort of enhanced it a little bit, I'd say. It became a little more religious, if you can use that word. A little more reflective, contemplative, I guess.
Are there any personal stories you would like to share?
I don't think anyone would want to hear them, no. No. I can tell you some good times, but I don't think you want any personal stuff. Let me think. No, probably not. I might get arrested,
All right, well, that sums up all of our questions, and
Great.
we'd like to thank you.
My pleasure.